Welcome to Renegade Thinkers Unite, a show that will help you transform your marketing from mere messaging to programs that break the rules and make a difference. Join the movement today and learn non-traditional techniques that give you an edge. Now, here's your Chief Marketing Renegade, Drew Nizer.
My guest today is Ann Davids, Senior Vice President, Chief Marketing Officer of Direct General Insurance Company, which has a super strong presence in the Southeast. Ann was the recipient of the CMO Club Award for Corporate Social Responsibility and is an amazing person. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you, Drew. Glad to be with you today.
So I have this theory that there is a little renegade in every CMO. What is one way that you're a renegade?
Yeah, I've often heard it said that marketing should make the rest of the organization uncomfortable, and I couldn't agree with that more. I think, I'll really advocate for anything the business needs, even beyond marketing, if it helps move the needle, and I intermediate with other business units to get the job done as well. So I guess, you could call that renegade.
Yeah, you sort of step out. You're not confined by the theoretical description of your job.
Absolutely.
And the truth is, for marketers to succeed, you really need to have influence over a broad range of areas. You create a new brand campaign, and if you don't get the employees behind it, it often doesn't work. So it totally makes sense. So let's talk about non-traditional. What's maybe one non-traditional technique that you've used that's been particularly successful?
So, speaking of influence across the business, one of the techniques that we've deployed in the last couple of years is an architectural blueprint. And I found this a really interesting way to communicate a vision and provide thought leadership across multiple disciplines within the business. It really literally is an architectural blueprint, and we print these out and we have various frames around different parts of the office or the organization where we basically, run our own campaign to help people understand. This is a roadmap or a vision for where we want to go, and it really tends to get people really exciting, and then we have people sort of hand raising to opt in to work on these things instead of having to go at it, in a traditional sense where you're trying to create momentum behind it.
And so this architectural roadmap, I'm envisioning, offices and doors and things that you see in an architectural plan. What kinds of things are on this roadmap?
It depends on the project, but we've got one right now to rebuild a consumer-facing app that can be used on our website or through an app itself. And it was sort of a vision for how do we rewrite this and really deploy something that our customers are asking for, that they want to use, and that would be in line with our brand positioning on pleasant surprises. And so there's all kinds of different nodes that are really consumer-facing nodes that, could stand to be rewritten or re-energized on behalf of the consumer. And so it just sort of showcases those different areas that could be enhanced, and starts to help people envision, wow, this thing could be bigger, than what it is today if we did this roadmap.
Interesting. And so the roadmap is shared with beyond the department, a broad range across the organization. How do people see this roadmap?
Yeah. So anymore the CMO and the CIO are sort of best buddies in an organization. And so a lot of the work that we do, we really work with our IT partners. So we put these blueprints not only, in the marketing area of the business, but within operations and sales and IT as well, so that all the people involved in how this would ultimately go to market or to the consumer, had a view of it. And we really did a great job of creating this momentum. Like, people wanted, to work on the initiative, and they're pretty excited about it.
Oh, that's very cool. So it's hard to get messages, any kind of marketing messages stand out. You mentioned pleasant surprises, which, by the way, I love the phraseology of that. What did you do? What's one thing that you did to make sure that message got out there, that the message cut through?
We try to just always speak the customer's language. So whatever that happens to be for your particular consumer, I think you have to really understand them and understand how they, talk and how they process and what they're looking for. So, obviously auto insurance, life insurance can be very complicated, but we try not to speak insurance and to really speak plain English to our customers in a way that they, want to hear it and can receive it well. Basically, keep it simple.
Let's talk plain English. So, Pleasant Surprises certainly sounds like plain English. Tell me a little bit about that campaign.
It's just really our customer is a little maybe overwhelmed by auto insurance, and they're also a little underserved. So it's a very confusing thing, and let's face it, a lot of people really don't want to pay for insurance. So we try to make it fun. We try to make it pleasant. We try to have added little surprises along the way that make it easier for them to do business with Direct. And we've seen that campaign really pay off in the last couple of years.
So, all right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about corporate social responsibility and some of the state-of-the-art marketing techniques that Ann has deployed at Direct General. So stay tuned.
Renegade Thinkers Unite is brought to you by Social Media Explorer, the website that explores the world of social media from the inside out. Great advice from today's leading social media columnists and experts at socialmediaexplorer.com. That's socialmediaexplorer.com.
Okay, we're back, and my guest today is Ann Davids. She is the Senior Vice President, Chief Marketing Officer of Direct General. So, Ann, let's talk about state-of-the-art marketing. What is that? What's that mean to you? And maybe you could give an example of something that you think you're doing that is state-of-the-art.
I think with digital being as prolific as it is these days, it's hard to sort of narrow it down to one thing. Really, what I consider state-of-the-art is knowing when to jump on a trend in, new emerging media or technology versus waiting to see how that's really going to impact your business or be utilized in your business. So, it's hard to put your finger just on one thing.
I think that's a fair observation. It's difficult, and in fact, I think the truth is that the marketing is about assembling the right pieces, right? It's as I said in my book, it's all about getting the elements correct, and the great marketers sort of know in this particular situation, given this particular challenge, this is the right blend. I'm curious as we talk about digital. And in the insurance world in particular, there's a tendency to think that, we can just put all our money on digital and that's going to be so much more efficient because we can track every click. Are you finding that you can sort of make digital the dominant platform that it promised to be just a few years ago?
Again, listen to your customer. Our customer is still telling us that they enjoy other mediums. They're still heavy consumers of broadcast. So we've been a little more careful in how we transition to digital. We are transitioning just like, most of the world. Our customer definitely is using it, but they're still in the traditional mass mediums as well. So we've been careful to migrate at the same speed or maybe just slightly ahead of our customers.
It's interesting. I mean, it's funny because having been a renegade for a long time, I will tell you that, sure, 10 years ago, when nobody was using digital, we were saying to our clients, you really should be thinking about digital and social. But now that the pendulum has swung, we actually think a renegade perspective is standing up and saying, you know what, TV still works. I don't care if you're going to accuse me of being a Luddite. The truth is that particularly for a brand like insurance, they always say that insurance is sold, not bought, right? And so how do you sell something? Well, you have to have it in front of people a lot.
Right. I think another good example is email a couple of years ago. I mean, it was sort of out of favor with marketers. It wasn't nearly as cool as a lot of the new digital that was out there. And yet our customers were still using email and still do today. So we invested in that and it worked out for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we've been testing various email approaches for Social Media Explorer, and we were able to develop this list where now we're getting a 30 to 40% open rate because we've worked on the list and we've worked on what it is that they want. So I think there's a lot of renegadeness. There's a lot of potential in email. What's one resource that you go to or you think about, or when you're talking about some of your colleagues? What's the resource that you send them to?
So I mean, if it had to be like one particular resource, I would say my network. Or, if it's a younger marketer that's coming up, I would say a mentor. I think you've got to find someone that you connect with, or a network that you connect with and that you trust. And you make an investment, deposits and withdrawals, if you will. You make an investment in those relationships and they pay off. It's there's nothing more valuable to me than my network and the mentors that I've had over the years.
And tell me, because this is a really good point, particularly for the younger listeners, about building a network. What are you talking about there? We're talking about the CMO Club. Do you have other networks? Do you have a networking group besides that you nurture and engage with?
Yeah, I do. I like to have business contacts in various different capacities. And over the years, I guess I've worked with so many different people, either from cross promotions or co-locations or just people that I've worked with in the past at one business, and they've landed someplace else. If we connected and we continue to connect, it's amazing how resourceful that type of network is. But it's just wherever those connections are found. And yes, the CMO Club has been great for me. I really do think that CMOs have shared concerns and challenges, and it's great to be able to immediately go to people within your network that you can bounce ideas off of in regard to that.
So a lot of people think that they can just sort of, if they have a group, that it's just about showing up. What do you think in terms of getting the most out of a network, a professional network? What's the secret to that?
Well, I think you have to, like I said earlier, deposits and withdrawals, right? I mean, it can't all just be withdrawing. To really have a successful network, I think you have to be there for others. You have to contribute. You have to share your ideas. I think you have to be open too to different challenges that come along, both at work as well as in your personal space. And be willing to share those experiences.
Yes, exactly. And it's funny, I was talking to a good friend, an old friend actually from second grade. We've known each other a long time, and he recently joined what's called the BNI Network, which is typically for small businesses, and they get together every week at 7 a.m. But he was telling me the story that I just absolutely loved. A young broker, he's a young a residential broker came to him and said, "You're a commercial broker, but you've been doing this for so long. Can you mentor me?" And he wanted to know something. So my friend actually took a half an hour or more than that, drove him up to the city center where they could go look at a particular thing. And it was like eye-opening for the kid, but it was also, it was great for my friend to be able to give back to this kid. And then later the kid came back to him and said, arrived at his house with a pie and, all these other things because he was just so grateful. So clearly from a networking standpoint, the more deposits, as you describe it, you put in, the more you get out of it. So anyway,
absolutely.
It is an amazing thing how powerful a good network can be. So, and that's a positive thing. But let's sort of, as we bring this to a close, what's the toughest lesson you've learned when it comes to marketing?
Oh, that's a tough one because, there's been various different business challenges over the years. I think really, if I had to sort of sum it up to one, I would say that no one speaks better for you or your brand than you do. Think about how you present your brand through words and actions and engagement, whether it's your personal brand, you as a marketer, or the brand that you represent for your business. I think you have to have a voice and be heard. And if you don't, no one's going to do it better for you.
So speak for yourself, if you will, which is an awkward way to put it. But so let me. I'm going to bring a little bit of closure to this conversation because it was really interesting to me. I loved how we started the conversation by focusing on sharing a roadmap with the organization, which I think is a really interesting way of putting it. You called it an architectural blueprint, but sharing that and leaving it open enough so that employees could sort of grab it and run with it, which was an interesting insight. Secondly, we talked about speaking the customer language, and everybody talks about getting to know the customer, but speaking the customer language, I think, is a particularly insightful observation, and the fact that you ended up with this pleasant surprises, which is it's a pleasant idea. It definitely sounds like your target. So that made a lot of sense to me. And then from a personal development standpoint, we talked about networking and the power of networking. And a lot of people, it's funny, I meet a lot of CMOs who don't think about networking until, frankly, it's too late. But whether you're a senior person or a junior person, building and nurturing a network, not just showing up, but focus on giving, and then the returns will be there, because as they say, karma is a boomerang. So with that, I want to thank Ann Davids of Direct General for being on Renegade Thinkers Unite. I think your observations were terrific. So thank you, Ann.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
This has been Renegade Thinkers Unite, but it doesn't end there. Just go to renegadethinkersunite.com for more and subscribe to the show. That way, you'll never miss an episode. We'll talk with you next time on Renegade Thinkers Unite.